So, Anita, welcome. Thank you so much for sitting down with me to talk about First Ladies today. When I thought about who I wanted to do this with, I knew it was you because you have such a strong background, both from experience and also from research as the director of the First Ladies Initiative at American University. But before that, in the White House, now you're the former chief of staff for First Lady Laura Bush. And so I wanted to talk with you about in particular, that office, the office of the First Lady, and how that really got started.
Well, thank you very much, Gwen, for having me. I'm really honored to be here and be sitting amongst these beautiful portraits of First Ladies. They help to tell our American story, and it's a privilege to be learning about them and talking about them. But the office of the First Lady, the modern office of the First Lady, as we know it today, we really have First Lady Rosalynn Carter to thank for that. When she came to Washington with her husband in 1977, one of the first things that President Carter wanted to do was establish the President's Commission on Mental Health. It would mirror what he had established in Georgia as the Governor's Commission on Mental Health. That Rosalynn Carter, as First Lady of Georgia, was the chair and deeply involved in the substance. She had a great background and history of working on mental health issues. But when they came to Washington with this idea of establishing the National Commission, they ran into obstacles because at the time, the laws around personnel for the White House did not authorize for members of the president's family to have official positions. And so, with working with the lawyers, working with the Office of Legal Counsel, the Department of Justice, the actual Personnel Authorization Act of 1977 established a new framework in the White House that established an office of the First Lady, where members of that office were actually considered staff of the president, but assigned to the First Lady's office. She was the first to hire a policy director. She expanded the size of the staff and really worked very closely with the president's office on initiatives that supported his administration.
And the foundations that Mrs. Carter finds when she comes to the White House, the foundations for a First Lady's office, had really been laid very much earlier, far earlier in the century by women like Edith Roosevelt, who comes into the White House and finds that it just doesn't really work for her family. Can you say something about that?
Right, absolutely. When Mrs. Roosevelt, Edith Roosevelt, comes in with President Teddy Roosevelt, I mean, they have a large family, a large young family. And up to that point, the president's office and his home were all in the same space in the residence of the White House, the second floor, as we know it, above the state floor. It's a beautiful space, but really not large enough to accommodate a large family, as well as all of the president's staff, his office, and all of the people that were coming and going. So Edith Roosevelt had enormous impact on the White House, both how the staff works and how the family lives, because she moved all those staff members and the president out of the residence, out of the second floor. The West Wing of the White House was built at that time. The staff of the president moved over outside of the residence and began to work in separate space. And it allowed, for her family to really have a home. And so all first families that followed really have Edith Roosevelt to thank for changing the landscape, if you will, and changing the environment in which the family could live and have privacy and have space to be a family, have family dinners together and have their own bedrooms and not have staff coming and going, or at least working staff. The other thing, too, as a busy mother with a social obligations as well as First Lady of the United States, she was the first to hire a social secretary handling the planning and the schedule around the social events that come with the job. So she left a mark on both how the family lives, but how the staff works, and how the First Lady really was able to manage the social obligations of the role.
Well, and I understand that the social secretary helped out in the portrait that we have on display here. It's a beautiful portrait by Cecilia Bow, and it shows Edith Roosevelt and her daughter Ethel. But Edith was very busy. Mrs. Roosevelt had, a busy schedule, and so
Right,
sometimes during the sittings,
right.
her secretary would stand in for her, or sit in for her during
Right.
the portrait.
Right. And that completely, underscores really what a close staff member or close confidant of anyone who's, working for a principal will step in to do to help the person that they're working for be able to do their job. And even if that meant standing in to for the portrait artist so that it could be completed, on time or in a reasonable amount of time. It's a beautiful portrait of a mother and young daughter. The youngest daughter of the Roosevelts, of course, because President Roosevelt had his daughter Alice from his first marriage. So yes, that Isabella Hagner, who was the social secretary that was hired, was. Very close to Mrs. Roosevelt and really handled many personal things for her as well as official duties.